Hello and welcome to More to the Story with Molly White. I am so glad you joined me again today for another great episode about abortion. And this is what we do talk about. We want our audience to know what the abortion industry doesn't want you to know. So I am so glad you joined me again today as we really expose the lies of the abortion industry and talk about the trauma of abortion and, of course, how God saves, delivers, and heals. So please stay tuned because we're going to have a great guest on in just a couple of minutes. Before I get started in introducing my awesome, wonderful co-host, Mary Browning, I just want to give a shout out to our show sponsor, Dr. Stephen Hotze with the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. He's been a dear friend of mine for many years. And I love the way he takes special good care of me to keep me healthy. And I really appreciate that. And I think you probably would too. So check them out. And I do want to give a shout out to those who give on a monthly basis that goes towards the production of our podcast. And we really appreciate your faithfulness in that. And we invite others to join us. And you can go to operationoutcry.org for more information about that. More to the story podcast.org for more information about that. And now I'd like to introduce Mary Browning.
Thank you, Molly. It's good to be on the program today.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, we do want to mention to our listeners that it's possible that today we will be hearing a story about abortion experience. And if you're listening and you have that kind of experience, you might find yourself having an emotional reaction. We consider that a trigger and an invitation into another level of healing. You can find healing resources in your area if you call the H3 helpline, or if you log at 866-721-7881, that's the H3 helpline, or you can log on to operationoutcry.org, and there is also healing resources at that location. In addition, we'd like to invite you to complete a declaration. If you have abortion experience in your past and you recognize the ways in which it has brought harm to your life, you can fill out a declaration at operationoutcry.org and submit it, and we will include you in different ways. And if you want to know more about that, you can contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Can you explain to them real quick what a declaration is and what it's used for?
Well, the declaration is a document that you complete, and it talks about your abortion experience, particularly about abortion harm. Thank you, Terrence. Our producer has put a sample up on the screen. So it's just filling in the blanks, and it does ask you what kind of harm or how it impacted your life. So if you fill that out, and then these declarations are used in different ways. And one way is we file briefs on behalf of women and men hurt by abortion in different cases around the country, and particularly in the U.S. Supreme Court. We also use those declarations, or they can be used by legislators to support pro-life legislation. And if you indicate on the document that you're willing to speak out, we may contact you and you may have opportunities to be a witness. So we thank you for that opportunity. Thank you, Terrence and Molly.
Yeah, thank you, Mary, and we invite y'all to do that. So, Mary, we have a very special guest on our podcast today, and her name is Schearice Moore from Florida, and so we would like to introduce Schearice. So, Schearice, come on in.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Molly.
Hi, well, thank you, and welcome to our podcast, More to the Story. So, Schearice, you live in Florida, and are you the director of the Oasis Pregnancy Center?
The Abortion Recovery Ministry.
Group. Right.
Yes, Director of Healing Grace.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So we want to talk to you a little bit about, before we go to your backstory, just talk to us a little bit about what Oasis Pregnancy Center is, what do they do, and then talk about the Healing Grace Abortion Recovery program.
Well, Oasis Pregnancy Center is, what we do is we support families from the moment of inception. They find out that they're pregnant. We do, free ultrasounds, and we support them until the child is 1 year old through, classes, and also providing the basic needs that the child would need. So it's pretty awesome. It's not like it's a handout that the parents actually earn they earn the things that they gain. For example, through the classes that they learn to become better parents, better families, and through those classes they earn the points to purchase the items that they get,
Uh,
which they're free, but it's just I think there's something to earning what you receive. So
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
so,
Yes.
from what I'm hearing, is the pregnancy resource centers, such as Oasis, they come alongside a family who's pregnant,
correct.
and
Hmm.
whether she's a single mother or a family, and they need help and support, and they get it there at this center, and it goes everywhere from, like you said, how to prepare to be a mother,
Yes,
how to become, how to parent a child, how to nurture and take care of your child, and then if you need resources, then I'm sure there's resources available. Like you said, they have to earn maybe by attending classes or whatever, but
correct.
run anywhere from what my experience is, from diapers to maternity clothing to clothing, maybe to even job training. You know,
Everything that you can think of. And that's one of the things that I used to say as I used to be a center director for one of our offices. Everything that you can think of that a child would need up
Mhm.
until age 1 years old, whether it's a binky or a swaddler, um, we have in our boutiques, and every time they come, they get diapers.
amen.
So yeah, it's pretty
And
amazing.
by the time a woman or a family leaves that center, they feel very confident and prepared to have this child and parent this child and
Yes,
provide for this child.
that's our hope, and what we do is we try to connect them to further resources if they need more. If they need additional services that would take the child up to 5 years old, we do that. We try to make sure that we've wrapped our arms around the family or the mother, whoever is bringing the child into the world. Our hope is that no one feels alone when they're bringing a baby into the world. If you have experience or you don't have experience, we're there to support and help them to gain that experience.
Amen. Well, thank you. And I think another real important part of pregnancy resource centers is also providing healing resources from women who've experienced abortion.
Yes,
And we talked a little bit about this pre-show about your healing ministries called
healing
uh,
grace.
Healing Grace. Here it is.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
talk to our audience a little bit about abortion recovery and what it is and how important it is.
Well, I think it's extremely important because whether or not you have abortion in your background, have been a part of an abortion, it affects you. It affects what, so say it's in the past, it still affects your parenting. So you could come to our center and have a new child in, you know, in the belly and decide, I'm going to parent this child. But, so studies show that that mother is affected. That mother, the way that they begin to parent is from a place of trauma, a place of grief, and there's a lot of, there's fear wrapped around it. There's so many things that it, once someone walks through abortion healing and gets that freedom, they can parent better. They can parent without
Mhm.
that in the background. And one of the things that I like to say is, I started raising my children with that in the background. And therein I was inserting fear in an underlying way of them, not making it, or, concern for what would happen to them. There were other ways that it affected me. And I'm sure, like I said, studies show that it affects those mothers too. So not everybody has the abortion story, but when they come into one of our centers, we try to connect them. And, Oasis right now, we have 5 centers in the Tampa Bay area: Wesley Chapel, Tampa, Dade City, Newport Richey, and Lando Lakes. So we try to be where where we're needed, where there's the most
Easy
need
access. Yeah, easy
easy access,
access.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
and those,
so
yes.
yeah. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's kind
No,
of what
that's
I was
okay.
trying to relate is it's available. There's
It's
help for you
available. There is help
available in your
available.
community. Yes.
Right.
So before we get to your backstory, we're talking about abortion recovery and the importance of it, and you were talking about even the parenting. I've learned through the years of my own journey that a wounded mother has a wounded and dysfunctional family.
Correct.
Healed
You
mother,
said it best. Thank you.
a healed mother has a healed family and a functional family because when you take time to take care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, mentally, because of abortion trauma, we're going to focus on that today. Then, and allow God to start healing you and restoring the brokenness and remolding you into the image He made you. Boy, your family's going to come along with you. They're going
Yeah.
to witness that. You're going to have better clarity. You're going to be able to communicate with them better. You're going to be able to even have relationships. It'll change your dynamics of your relationships with your children. You're no longer walking in a secrecy or walking in woundedness. And so it really impacts your family in such a powerful way. And that's why we have this podcast. One of the reasons, because we want to see the brokenhearted healed so that your families could heal and your life can turn around. So let's talk about, we talked about the abortion recovery program, and it's a
Uh-huh.
beautiful name. I love Healing Grace.
Yes.
But let's kind of get a little bit into your backstory and what brought you through recovery.
Okay. Well, my backstory is, I found myself, people like to say they found themselves um, pregnant, but actually, you know, I was already introduced to sexuality early on in life. So
Mhm.
being touched, before time and my eyes being open to sexuality. So actually never feeling, pure. So not a surprise that I found myself pregnant at 16.
Mhm.
And the thing that still baffles me today is that a couple weeks before I found out that I was pregnant, Planned Parenthood was invited to my high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they came to my high school and befriended us all. It was almost like a fun day of them handing out condoms and talking
Mhm.
to us and sharing how if you find yourself in a situation that they were there
Mhm.
to help, you don't need to talk to your parents, blah blah
Mhm.
blah.
Mm,
All that information. Now I didn't know that I was going to use it.
mm,
It
wow.
just was, I was in participation of something that was brought into my school. There was no like,
Mhm. Mhm.
this is what's going to happen and you need to be prepared for this. No, they came in, they were our friends. A bunch of kids left with a bunch of condoms and
Mhm.
other, merch that they brought us. And
Mhm.
so when I found out I was pregnant, I called them.
Yeah.
I called them. They talked to me as if, that they had my back. They told me like, you're young. You have your whole life ahead of you, and
Mhm.
besides, you're so early. It's not even a baby. It's not
Mhm.
even a baby yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I believed them.
The great
I believed
deceiver. The great deceiver. I'm just thinking,
them.
Satan got a toehold in your school,
Yes, he
and
did.
he's a great liar and deceiver. And unfortunately, he found weapons he could use through Planned Parenthood and those associated with Planned Parenthood to come in and deceive the hearts and minds of young people.
Yes,
And really, it was a marketing strategy. If you look at it on the secular side, here's our future clients. We better get to them early.
that's
Mhm.
right.
uh,
That is right.
it
Mhm.
just planted seeds of deception in vulnerable minds, and that I've had a very similar experience. Just a seed planted in my mind that probably would have never been there had not that door opened to it. And so here they are. And I'm sure you're not the only young woman that was deceived and thought Planned Parenthood was your friend, and you went there and you trusted them, and they lied to you again.
And they lied to me again. And they were a friend until it was all done.
Right.
And then they were this, it was almost like the sheep came out of his clothes and then
Mm.
they were pulled. And then it was dark and eerie and rushing. And, when I came, I don't know if you want to hear this part, but, you know, after the,
Honestly, yeah.
yeah, after when the anesthesia pulled me under, I could hear the vacuum so loud that I thought it was coming from another room. I thought it was coming from maybe next door. And when I woke, now the crazy part to me is that I was dressed and sitting up in a chair, and in front of me, we were all kind of sitting in almost like a circle of, there were six other weeping mothers
Mm.
looking distraught and drowsy, and they gave me some juice and gave me some crackers and rushed me out. I mean, they were so fast, and I spent the next, almost 2 days hiding in my closet,
Mm.
pretending that I went to school, but I had lost so much blood and I was so weak. It wasn't until, the life that I had, was, I wouldn't say it was the best. I would say I wasn't that, you know, of a happy child at that time. But after that, I wanted to die.
Mm.
I didn't care whether my life was taken or not. And
Mhm.
it was just so much blood. I had never seen so much blood in my entire life. They never said, in my perspective back then, they were the doctor.
Yeah.
They
Uh-huh.
were who I was supposed to trust, and they didn't. They just
Mhm.
told me they put a pad on me that was like the size of a diaper, and told me to, just keep changing the pad. So
And never warned you that if you're bleeding excessively, that you need. Of course, they don't want you to call them back.
yeah,
Yeah,
nothing.
but
So
go to the hospital. Tell your parents. Or they just leave you. You could have hemorrhaged to
yes,
death. Yeah.
yes.
Go ahead,
Part of
Mary.
me, part of me died that day. I mean,
Yeah.
just a shutdown and an anger that, sometimes I think back on that girl, even though she was a go getter and pressing towards survival and all those things, she was hard and she was cold and,
Mhm.
and lost. No one explained that the rest of me was going to be still in pain, even though my body was feeling better. My spirit and my soul
Mm.
were grieving inside.
Yeah.
And I didn't really find that out until I didn't get saved until I was 19. And
Schearice, can I just pause for a minute? Can we talk a little bit about the fact that you were 16, so you were a minor?
that's
Mm.
correct.
It's always interesting to me. Had you had your ears pierced by then, by chance?
Yes, I believe I did.
Did you have to have a parent's consent to get your ears pierced?
Right?
Mm.
That is funny that you say that. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even get a cavity or
Mhm.
go into the dentist without my parents, but they could actually take me in, remove my baby, and send me out
Mhm.
with no one ever needing to know. When you
Your
said,
parents
Molly,
having
right?
no idea what's going on with you medically, and
No.
even hemorrhaging. And Mary, I'm so glad I have an attorney co-host, because you really bring up things that I didn't even think about. But to take advantage and harp on vulnerable minor children should be criminal. It really
Yeah.
makes blood boil. But that's the nature of the beast.
Yes.
The nature of the beast. You
When you
know.
use the words, that they were, that's their market and they were trying to get the next generation, they were trying to, brainwash. I feel like the adults that were in the school who allowed them
Mhm.
were the ones that were buying their lie and gave them access to us.
Mhm.
Absolutely, they gave them
Y-
access, and they don't give pro-lifers access. We don't get
Right.
the same doors open to us to talk to them about. Mary's working on a project about educating young people about adoption.
Mhm.
Right.
Of course, we need, and I think schools are more and more open to abstinence education, sexual integrity education. But to get speakers like you and me and Mary to come in and share about abortion trauma and, have your baby instead kind of thing, those doors aren't open.
Right. Well, I know that firsthand because I started working with Compassion International to go in and talk about abstinence because no one ever told me not
Mhm.
to have sex.
Mhm. Yeah.
My mom's best thing to say was, don't give them any. She
Mm.
would say, don't give them any. And I'd be like, don't give them any what? You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah.
but she didn't have the information herself to say, or I guess to know how to say it plainly, and
Right.
have those kinds of conversations. So I make sure to have those conversations. With being with a compassion, we would go into the schools that would let us, and there were very few that would let us in
Mhm.
to talk to them about abstinence, to share that, you don't even have to go there first. And this is why abstinence is important. We didn't
Mhm.
have to talk about God. These are just facts.
Yeah.
Abstinence does not
Yes.
put you at risk.
Mhm.
Abstinence does not give you a possibility of pregnancy.
Yeah.
It's 100% plan for
Yes.
abstinence.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I've done
Beautiful.
a lot of that educational stuff, and I have created a pamphlet on the benefits of being abstinent. And
Oh,
it's not
wow.
just sexual health and pregnancy avoidance, but children who are abstinent make better grades. They have better relationships with their family. They tend to be, graduate with higher grades, and they tend to be more successful
Wow.
because of they love their body enough and respect their body enough to remain abstinent and all the benefits that come from it and things that I had never thought of before. So this is being done through research. So there's more to being abstinent than not having sex and not
Yes.
getting pregnant outside of marriage. It is good for you health
Right.
wise, of course, but also emotionally and with your relationships, with how well you do in school, and even career wise. You know,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
wait until marriage, you're going to be happier and healthier and whole all the way around. Mary, do you want something to say?
Yes, it was. It's kind of relating back to something Schearice said. So I'm hoping I'm not sort of out of time on this. But one of the things that has struck me, Schearice, you used a phrase that you were touched before time,
Yes.
really before. And I think when we're talking about abstinence, I just wanted to mention there are some people out there who are, as Schearice has said, touched before time. But I feel like there's no precaution in the abortion industry to watch out for that or to screen for that. Is this a person who's been exploited or is vulnerable? And
Right.
so I just wondered in your work if you have come across that. We've had a previous guest that talked about the disproportionate number of women in prison who have had abortions, and that prior to the abortion is the sexual violence or the sexual, I'll call it the touched before time people,
Yes.
women. And so are you familiar with any of that, or do you see that in your in the work that you do?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mary. I think that, sexual trauma and abortion are twins. You don't see a woman, you know, in an abortion clinic who is in a relationship who has remained abstinence until they found their spouse and then had sex and a baby, was the result in the abortion clinic,
Mm.
right? You don't often see that. What you see is somebody whose relationship is unstable, who they're maybe not in that married situation. Now, there are a few, people who are married who have abortion, but the numbers of women who are not in a stable relationship, not in a healthy relationship, are the ones that are there. Sexual sin is the reason why they entered that abortion clinic. And what I'm finding is that there are a lot of women who have been molested, assaulted. They have been touched prematurely right?
Yeah.
That led them into sexual sin and then also maybe sexual promiscuity. A young woman doesn't find herself sexual promiscuous just because of nothing, you know. But
Right.
there's a gap. There's something missing. There's something that happened, and I think that what I'm finding now as we do our classes here in the Tampa area is that women will come in for sexual trauma, sexual brokenness, and you find that abortion is in the background. In these classes, 80% of the women in the sexual healing classes have had abortion.
Wow.
They may not come from, they may not come in the door for abortion recovery, but they will come in for sexual healing. And the thing is that they were not told that, or they were told that they weren't allowed to grieve, that, you did this. And the truth is, we did it. We did make the decision to, abort our own children, but we did not really understand the impact to the three-part person that we are.
Right.
We were told that, yeah, this will fix the problem. It'll go away. You'll be done with it.
It's
But
just a blob of
when
tissue, or just a tiny dot of cells. It's not even a
not
baby yet.
even, not even a baby yet is what I was told. And so, the to get a woman who comes in for sexual healing to open those doors to the things that have happened, those are the ways to walk in healing for what you're going to do in the future. How you're going to heal. There's women walking around with frigidity. There's women walking around with, let me just say, women and men are walking around with the brokenness
Yeah,
of sexual sin. And those who decide not to be fathers, they also may have sexual trauma in their background.
that's true.
So it's necessary, as I shared with you guys on pre-conversation, was that that's what the root of it is. The root of abortion is sexual sin, and
Yes.
Satan is going to try to find his way to get to us however he can, but he is a defeated foe. Let me say that. And when these women and men get set free and the chains are broken off of them and they're released, they can walk in their calling, they can walk in their God given authority. It's something about when you have this secret in your background that it almost feels like a halo, some kind of something over your head. And when you do the declaration like you guys do with Operation Outcry and make that statement of that declaration, there's some freedom that comes from that. And then you walk through one of the healing programs. There are many out there. Right now we're using Forgiven and Set Free. We're using Pathways to Sexual Healing. We're not opposed to using any of the other ones, like, Surrendering the Secret, Rachel's Vineyard. It doesn't matter because the healer is the same.
Amen.
He's still
Amen.
God. He's the healer. He knows exactly where you hurt, and where you hurt is different from where I hurt. And he wants to redeem his children while we still have time.
Amen. And so what we have said to our audiences before is if you're this way before your abortion, your personality, all of this, and you're this way after your abortion, and it's not better, then we encourage you to go a little deeper into that experience and to seek healing and recovery from that. And I think Mary said it beautiful. It's our redemption song. When we go through that healing program, when we allow God to just break off those bondages and to bring light into the darkness, and we share that deepest pain out loud, and his light comes in, my goodness, we're better than before. You know,
Yeah,
God's
right.
redemption power, our beautiful, is it called redeeming song or redeeming story? Mary, what'd you call it?
I call it the redemption song. The
Redemption.
redemption.
Yeah,
It's a
Mhm.
that's awesome.
beautiful thing. And all three of us here can testify that. And what's what Schearice has been doing. He takes the brokenhearted and he heals you and restores you and builds you into something more beautiful than before and uses you in ways like Schearice. I don't know if you ever planned on your life being like this, before abortion recovery, but look at the doors God opens for you to then comfort those with the same comfort we ourselves receive.
Covered with, yes. Yes.
because we want to see the brokenhearted healed.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yes, it is. May I add one thing, Molly?
Please do.
My favorite kind of woman is the one that is a go getter. She works really hard. She usually is a high achiever. She usually has the biggest mask on. She looks real great. You know what I mean? Whether she's high up in the church or high up in a firm or business, that woman could be so much more free if she'd allow the Lord to heal her. But sometimes we end up making all of these masks in order to leave the past behind.
Yeah.
And so when I meet those women that are like they're on fire in their business or whatever they're doing, those are the ones that are made up the best, that need the most healing. It's usually the ones that are numb. I know I was numb. I didn't know that I hurt until God brought it to the forefront. And I was like, ah, like wrecked my life. It's like everything that I had made up, everything that I had planned to, be okay, was wrecked because God wanted to touch that area. And he doesn't want to leave us limping. He doesn't want to leave us half whole, but
Yeah.
completely whole.
Amen. Well, I think there's something on here that I can't read from Terrence, but I just kind of wanted to say, because we've said this many times on our podcast, that secrets make you sick.
Oh,
The
yes, they
longer
do.
you carry a secret, the more toxic it is, the more poison it is, the more it brings us down, the more it keeps us in bondage. And like you said, you know, we can only wear this mask for so long, but once you allow God, once you share that secret, once you just share that secret out loud, boy, things start to break off. God starts to come in and
Yeah.
start to heal all of those things. And it's a hard journey. I can't say that it's easy. It's a
Mm,
hard journey because we have to go back there. We have to remember. We have to feel. But boy, with each tear, God grabs in his hands and he holds it as a precious gift through each tear because that brings us closer and closer to our healing. So, Cherie, do you have something, Mary?
I do. There is so much that Schearice has to share with us. Schearice, you are part of Life Alliance, correct?
yes.
Which is a collection of pregnancy centers in the area there in Florida, where you
Yes.
teach the
Yes.
champions of recovery, more about abortion recovery. You certainly are the director then of Healing Grace there at the Oasis Pregnancy Center, which is really 5 different centers, correct?
Correct. Correct.
And you are also a counselor, is that right?
Yes, the biblical counselor.
A
Yes.
biblical counselor.
Epiphany House Counseling.
Okay.
Tiffany House?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Epiphany.
The reason for the name Epiphany House is because when God comes along and you have an epiphany of who he is and who you are, your life is forever changed.
Amen.
So what we
Yeah.
work through is spirit, soul hurts, those deep rooted issues of life that are keeping people captive and keeping people stuck where they intersected with trauma.
Amen.
Mm.
That's beautiful. Well, Cherise, real quick, give everybody a shout out on how they can get in touch with you, and we'll see how many doors God opens for you.
Awesome. Well, we have a confidential line. I hope if anything in my story or Molly or Mary, in what they do has impacted you, please reach out. When you feel that prick, that means God is calling your number. You ever stand in line for meat, they pull a ticket. That means your ticket is up and he wants to do something for you. So we have a confidential line, Healing Grace does, and it's 813-607-2468. It's 813-607-2468. You can reach us at healinggracefl.com, or you can go to our Oasis Pregnancy Center website, and under the after abortion, you can connect with any of our classes. Or if you'd like to connect with me and you want to share something, or my story has impacted you, connect with me on social media. It's important to spell my name right, Schearice. Connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you so much, Schearice, and thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on to More to the Story with Molly White. Mary and I really enjoyed our
Yeah.
conversation with you, and I know you've been touched. And if you've been touched out there, like Schearice was saying, if you feel that prick, that means God's speaking to you. He wants to move into in your life. He wants to do something for you. So I encourage you to get in touch with Schearice or go to operationoutcry.org. But thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again the next time. God bless you all. Bye bye.
God bless you.
Hello, friend. Our broadcasting wanted to take a moment to personally thank you for being a listener of the More to the Story podcast. Whether you're a longtime subscriber or just found us, we're so glad you're here. This podcast is a community built on sharing, and that's where you come in. If an episode has ever resonated with you, please consider sharing it. Text it to a friend, post it on social media. Your recommendation is the most powerful way to help these important stories reach new ears. We are also inviting businesses and individuals to partner with us as official sponsors. Sponsoring the podcast is a wonderful way to reach a dedicated, thoughtful audience while directly supporting our mission. If you'd like to explore sponsoring the podcast, we invite you to visit our website at www.moretothestorypodcast.org. Again, that's www.moretothestorypodcast.org. Thank you for being a part of our story.